in this very troubled time that is a world. When I use the word world, we're talking about temporal world. We're talking about a commerce world. We're talking about a Babylonian world, which is the origin of where commerce had its rudiment, and especially down a very pagan direction. The subject matter is feigned diseases. When we use the word feign, I just want to do a little bit of background on that word feigned, because I'm always going to take you to the Bible so that you build a faith in how totally always up to date this book is to lead you on a path of salvation. Never, ever would this book lead you down a direction of blindness. But because the world that is around us is filled with false science spoken of in Scripture, it leads people away from keeping a proper faith, a true faith, a good faith, and leads them into bad faith, which is, of course, run by the legal system that has the operators that control that, being the lawyers, which are known as the devil's advocates. So they advocate the will of the devil. They do not advocate the will of God. So they advocate bad will, or bad faith, not good faith. So when we're dealing with this subject, people would never have seen this before. But when we're looking at how to understand the word feigned, I'm going to bring you to the Scripture first to get you to understand, again, how things would happen based on even a registration that is placed to induce you into a feigned or improper position, something disgraceful, not graceful. So we're going to go to 2 Peter. And in the book of 2 Peter, chapter 2, Peter spoke of, he said, "But there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction." So we know that the legal system even promotes the doctrine that God doesn't exist. In fact, it will even embrace people who call themselves atheists, people who deny the existence of God, therefore would certainly deny the existence of the salvation of God's Son. We go further in verse 2, and it says, "And many shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of. And through covetousness shall they with feigned words make merchandise of you, whose judgment now of a long time lingereth not, and their damnation slumbereth not." So it says, "And though covetousness shall they with feigned words." So it brings up feigned words. Now when we looked up the word fictio out of Black's Law 10th edition, in brackets beside the word fiction, which is relating to someone being noted or deemed to be or accused to be of the civil Roman system of citizenry, it had in brackets the word to feign. So when we're looking at the position of being a member of legal registration, it leads to being feigned, and also it says that the ones who promote this would make merchandise of you, a brand of you, a logo, a false image of you in order to make commerce of you. So we are definitely in those times. So when we look at Black's Law 4th edition, I was quite surprised at first that they would be that detailed in explaining something that we are seeing today, because certainly this dictionary was comprised way before what we're seeing in this crazy time of supposedly diseases that are being told to the public, the people that are members of the collective, there's a definition called feigned diseases. Black's fourth edition defines it as simulated maladies. Diseases are generally feigned from one of three causes: fear, shame, or the hope of gain. Now, can you imagine that a legal system already put you into diseasement with a surname based on accusing you or implying the fact that you would once touch a forbidden fruit, a poisonous element of a tree that does not bring life, will take your life. And therefore, instead of you living, you will try to make a living out of something that is dead, something that is in sin. And then, not only being in diseasement, these characters even will try to look that they're doing you a favor by providing you legal aid when you get charged using that name. These characters are so blatant, they've made a business of this stupidity. So they provide or basically give you legal aids, which is legal acquired immune deficiency syndrome. You can never be cured because you always have legal aids. And therefore they've created the disease, which is what they do with this current disease that now is this false malady, which is under the category in their own law dictionary as a feigned disease, a simulated malady. So this jab thing that they're telling everybody to take is based on something that doesn't exist. But they basically need you to take it because they have another agenda. And they don't need you in quantities out there when their mathematics are not working on the balance of how they maintain their debtors. So basically a good way to eliminate unnecessary eaters is to basically create feigned diseases. Again, defined as simulated maladies, diseases are generally feigned from one of three causes: fear, shame, or the hope of gain. Now, do you think they're not making gain in this one? Then you haven't looked at the profits being made from the pharmakeia industry.